Hey everybody, hello, good evening. This is the Pundit's Pundit, not Pundit Views, not anything like that. You might have gotten a little confused because Jordan Long is here. Well, this is now permanent. He is our new fourth, and we very much welcome you, Jordan.
Thank you, Jacob.
I'm hoping you enjoy this because this is a lot different than we were used to have, And welcome again, Scott.
Thank you. Glad to be back, Jacob. I know
Yes.
First of two for us.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you have three tonight, don't you?
Yeah, I got three. But I think 15 to 30 minutes on this one, And see, one of the things is we kind of got to a late start. So I say let's get to the very first topic whenever we can be able to bring that up. Oh, yes. Deion Sanders. Now, I didn't think I would be, and I'm saying this, Jordan, I didn't think I'd be bringing this up because I wasn't happy with him going to Colorado. I wasn't happy. I was going to kind of do a hiatus from that. But he made a good point on something. But I just wanted to bring this part. Colorado head coach Deion Sanders wants quarterbacks from two-parent households, from the background, straight-A students, and he wants the defenders from single parents and grinding. Now, this is my thing. I wanted to bring this part up. I am half on his side. In the half where I want the defenders from the parents also. It's like, this is my thing with all of this. It's like, what if you look back, if there was one case that showed all the way back in the times where it was all single parents that made these tough guys. Here's the thing, Scott. I don't think Dick Bucket's that single parent. You know what I'm saying? I don't think all the I see any of these people. I don't think of Merlin Olsen. I don't think of Alan Page. I don't think they would have a single parent. And I'm bringing these part, and it's like just because the world has changed now doesn't mean that is any different. And the thing is, I have a belief completely what he's saying about quarterbacks, but I also believe that defenders can be just as tough because I always say this. A man and a woman, a badass man and a badass woman equals badass kids. I've always believed this. And it's like you're talking about the grind, and it's like I just have this belief that both sides need to have the two-parent. And that's just mine. And go on with this, Jordan.
I kind of disagree with what he's saying. But the reason why is I understand the two parents and whatever, but he wants it a man and a woman. Well, I've seen so many cases where a single parent has raised kids and they become, leaders of men. So that's where I disagree with him on it. But the thing is of course, I'm a Colorado Buffaloes fan. I want him to worry about making the program better, turning around the program. I think he needs to worry about that. Yeah, his son's going to be the quarterback, and it comes from a dual, parentship where it's a man and a woman, but still, I don't know where he's coming from. Just because I think, honestly, even if you're same sex or you're a single parent, your son can be a leader man, can be a quarterback. The defenders thing, I could care less about. I'm just looking at the quarterback thing, and it kind of bugs me what he said. And I'm surprised he's not getting more flack about it.
Well, we got to quit the flack about it in the first place. We got to ignore it. I mean,
that's true too.
Because we really that's the personal thing. I personally think that regardless if it's conservative or liberal, people are going to have to learn to start talking to each other and quit complaining and crying. And,
I completely agree.
Yeah. And Scott.
Well, first of all, Deion Sanders told the Detroit Lions not to draft him because they couldn't afford him. Okay, that you're talking about the Ford family couldn't afford him. And by the way, Deion, I don't know if you're a math major, but they're billionaires. Okay, you can't afford them. Listen, I'll admit math wasn't one of my strongest subjects, and I was more of an English guy, anyways. But Deion, okay, the Fords could afford you. I've always firmly believed that they drafted the better Sanders in Barry Sanders. Okay, and I was privileged to work with Barry Sanders during that period. You know what? I'll tell you what, Jordan, I agree with you. I am sick and tired of his big mouth at Colorado. And I mean big mouth. Okay, I'm going really loud now. Because number one, Deion, you try to go after the best player possible, whether it's a single family home or a two-parent home. It doesn't always work out the way it should be. The divorce rate is probably real high. And you have to make sure you judge the kid based on his character his grades, and his athleticism. So you know what? Fanfare is only so good. In fact, Willie Taggart was there a short period of time, then he lands an assistant job in the NFL. So, Deion, you've got to kind of get it figured out within the first 1 or 2, 3 years, or who knows if they'll be done with you anyway. So I didn't think he should have taken that job anyways. I think there were other jobs he should have taken, but this is where he's at. And to me, I have a problem with his ego and his attitude. Okay. I've always struggled with that to begin with. So I want to see wins and losses. Okay. I know he had a decent run at Jackson State. I get that. More power to him. But wins and losses, no matter how the kids were raised, I don't care.
Well, and that's true. And that's completely understandable. My whole point of what I was bringing up is I don't want it if they can help it. If a set of parents can help it, I want to see them together be able to raise kids together is what I'm saying.
Oh, I completely agree.
Yeah, I want to see that. So it's like when he's saying something like that, okay, I want the defense grinding. It's like you're telling me that the defense can't grind. A defenseman can't grind if he's got a parent. That's also saying that the men, he is saying indirectly, of course, that the men are getting weaker. Yes. Because that's what he's indirectly saying. I'm talking about men in the family getting weaker because a man is supposed to be motivating the son.
Yeah, but let me tell you this, okay? Here's a guy that walks in there. I might as well call him Mr. Hype because he didn't hesitate to clean house and get rid of a lot of players, albeit many of them weren't great. But I'll get rid of everybody without getting a fair chance to know the incumbent players that worked their tail off that deserve at least an opportunity to stay with the program. But no. You want to get rid of coaches. You want to get players. I get that. But come on, seriously, this guy here, it's one thing to be a big sheriff, but I'm going to say one thing Deion Sanders isn't, okay? He is not Paul Bear Bryant. I don't care what anybody says. He's not. You want to talk about the Junction Boys? That was a movie a long time ago when Paul Bear Bryant ran these guys in the heart of Texas and they all got busted up.
Junction Boys, yeah.
Oh, my. I didn't watch many movies. Well, I did back then, but I don't watch them now because I can't. I'm always told to keep my mouth shut inside of a theater, so I just stay home and eat the popcorn at home, and then nobody tells me to shut up. I just press the pause button when I want to say it. So all I can say is Deion Sanders is not Paul Bear Bryant. He's not Woody Hayes. He's not like a lot of the other guys out there, to me, to be able to sit here and think that I'm the king of the castle and you're the dirty rascal. Yeah, when the losses pile up, we'll see who the real rascal is.
I mean, he has taken over a program that's won one game last year, and we haven't been to a bowl game in, 10, 11 years? I mean, that's the thing about what I agree with you, Scott. It's wins and losses. I want him to build a winning culture. That's what we want in Colorado. If that's not going to happen, he's going to get fired. There's no doubt about it.
And but one of the things I can say is when I heard him say Paul Bear and then it went to Bryant, I thought he was going, "Oh yeah." I think Paul Bear from it.
So Jordan, let me ask you a question, okay? What do you think give me the record that you think Colorado's going to have this year?
I'm looking at 6 or 7 wins. That would be a step above what they were. Just because if you look at the Pac-12, it's always tough. Plus, they play TCU Nebraska isn't what it once was in non-conference play. But if we can get 6 or 7 wins, I'll take it.
Yeah, the Pac-12 for what it is until they get rated by the Big 12. I'm waiting for that storyline to come up soon. But yeah,
I got 9 wins. I've still got 9. I just do because the way that Jackson State played, and there's that, and and the Pac-12 is just. I mean, it can be tough, but it's weaker than it used to be. So I'm going to go 9. But the biggest thing, the thing is he's going to have 9 because they're going to lose their patience real quick with him, especially with the mouth, as you brought up.
Well, I think they're only going to get 5 wins, and even 5 is a little bit of an improvement. But you say 5, I say 5, you say 6, you say 9. We're going to have a gentleman's bet at some point or another.
We might need to.
On that.
Yeah, but one of the things where I'm at, one of the things where I'm at with what he was saying is, I mean, we all have an agreement and a disagreement with all this. My big thing is just he indirectly said that he said he wanted the grinders on defenses. This is what my point is. He indirectly said that the men in the house are getting weaker. He indirectly said that, and whether he meant to or not, which he's saying that if you have a two-parent household, your father can't motivate you to be the badass. And he's indirectly saying it whether he needs to or not. And it's like, oh, so we need to have a single parent, so he has to grind harder. It's like, well, what about a man in the house to do that if they're there? That's all he was saying, is he's indirectly said that.
Well, I dare him to call Chris Spielman not a grinder, because the guy had a heck of a career. I don't know whether he had one or two parents, but I'm going to tell you something. Chris Spielman wasn't even drafted in the first round, and how did that turn out? So, I think that, you know what, Deion, you need to tone it back a lot here and get the best players and keep your mouth shut. Or as they always say on ESPN, just shut up. Or are they saying it some other place now? I haven't watched that show.
No.
I have no idea.
Or Kendrick Perkins goes, carry on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch the station in a couple of weeks. I've gotten hooked on Fox at 1, so. But that's
well, it's like, I'll tell you this. It's like, since we're going to the thing, we had a good conversation. Let's go to the second one. Let's go to the second topic, because that was a good one. Oh boy, have any of you heard of this?
I have not until I read the story.
Oh my Lord. Okay, I'll explain this. Okay, I'll explain this. Matthew Mayer is a player on the Illinois Fighting Illini. And he, right during a season, mind you, he ended up being sick, and he had to skip a game. He had to skip about 3 practices. The media goes and asks him why. And Scott, you're going to get kicked out of this.
Yeah.
It is because of caffeine poisoning. He decides to stay up all night playing video games, taking some, whatever, sack or 2 or whatever, stuff like that, and then taking like 5 Monster drinks, and just gets caffeine poisoning, which keeps him out of the game in about 3 practices.
Really?
And I'm like, see, I talked, and this was the thing. I had a conversation. We had a conversation on our chat with, I don't know, you didn't see this, Jordan, not yet. But they were talking about that caffeine poisoning could happen. I mean, this was what Jay said, what Denzel said. He said it could happen in his military time because you had to stay awake because this isn't just like a firefight in the middle. He can explain it better, of course. And stuff like that. But this isn't a firefight. Yeah, here he is right here. We had troops end up in the med tent during night shift during the caffeine poisoning, drank 2 BFCs and took stacker 2. But you have to keep yourself up all night because, as he was saying, because they could come in while you're sleeping, and you had to keep on guard. But when you're playing video games, you're not on guard. And it's like college kids have this invincibility, which we all did. Mm-hmm. I know you did, Scott. We all have invincibility when we're 20. But we get this. But this is especially when you have a chance at the NBA, possibly. You don't know, or if not the NBA, a very big professional life, and you're over 20, you're 20 or over, and you're making a mistake like that.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Jordan. I want to hear your take. I got a lot of things to say about this.
We've all been there where we want to stay up and play video games, but like Jacob said, it's in the middle of the season. You're a guy who wants to go into the NBA. Why are you staying up playing video games? I get it that you can, it's a way to relax. And then you drink 5 energy drinks. I don't quite understand it. Why not just put the controller down, get a good night's sleep, then go play the game? Because you're trying to be an NBA prospect. By doing this, you're going to have a lot of questions by NBA personnel saying, well, why did you do this? Are you really a character we want? It just didn't make sense for him to stay up and play those video games. I get it's a way to relax, but man, the way you did it, not the brightest spot to do it in.
Well, I wouldn't beat the kid up that bad. Number one, I'm probably the worst person that could say it. I drink two 2-liter Diet Mountain Dews a day is what I do. And and I'm talking 2 liters, okay? When I'm on the road, I'm an animal. I can drink a ton of Mountain Dew, and all the monster drinks in the world, and you can hardly tell I'm a monster anyways, for God's sakes. Now, albeit I don't know how to play video games and operate those little things called a remote control, but I'm really good with the iPad when it comes to playing, the block game. Oh, I can stay up all night to meditate. So I'm probably the last guy that's going to criticize Matthew Mayer. I've seen people do a whole lot worse than play video games and miss a game. We're talking the NBA called load management, my friend. Even a paper cut will knock these people out. So I don't know.
No.
I mean,
Well, and
load management versus a stupid video game. I mean, give me a. I'm a cat. I got news for you. Without my caffeine, I'd be in deep trouble. Yeah, I'll tell you what. There you go. I love what Denzel put that last comment out. Let me find out. Scott is a BOT. Whatever.
Yeah, right.
I'm telling you there, Denzel. You know me. All my teammates here know me, but give me a break. On a bad day, I have 2 Diet Mountain Dews, 2 liters. On a good day, I have 3.
And you're a picture of health.
Oh, yeah. Oh, let me tell you, don't kid yourself. I'm losing weight now, so I'm doing good.
Yeah.
I've lost actually 5 pounds last week. I'm trying to get below 200. But the reality is I'm not going to beat this kid up too bad about caffeine poisoning. I'm the worst guy in the world to do it because you got to walk the walk, talk the talk. Well, I'm walking the walk, and Matthew Mayer, I don't know if you know much about golf, but I'm giving you a mulligan on this one.
Well, and this is my thing.
But I am drinking water.
Yeah. I had family members that owned a Coca-Cola plant. My grandma would get free soda. She'd be and I would. This is the craziest thing. My grandma would be. I'd have a sandwich. My grandma would ask me, would I want some Coke or Sprite or whatever? No, some milk. There's these crates of soda or whatever, or the boxes of soda downstairs that's completely free, and I didn't want it. So that's telling you what I thought of soda.
Dang, dude. I would have been all in that.
I'm sure you would have. But no, my biggest deal with something like this is the fact that we're getting more. All I meant by this, Scott, and I can understand that, we're more hooked on artificial energy.
Oh, yes, we are.
Yeah, we're more hooked on artificial stimulants. It's what this, and really, truthfully, your stimulation. It's like, why are you? For one thing, did you do this all night after a practice? Because you need sleep. That's what makes you healthy for good. You know what I'm saying?
Well, good.
It makes that makes you healthy. Go ahead, Scott.
I got sleep apnea. I have one of those machines I got to use at night. So for me, 3 to 4 hours of sleep is considered a luxury. Okay, it really is. And my doctor told me to try to get off of caffeine. I'll tell you, he give me 10 things to do, but that might be the one thing that I struggle with. I didn't get the Motor City Mad Mouth name because I sat there and drank Diet 7-Up with nothing. I got it because I hit the Diet Coke and graduated to Diet Mountain Dew and Monster drinks on the road. And that ain't good enough. Red Bull's even in there too. And I'm a raging bull on the air. Go figure. Okay.
You just said it. You just showed us that you are right now. But I could say this: the pundit's pundit has probably drank if this 150 sodas in his life.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
really wow.
This energy is natural.
I'll just say Robert Redford may be the natural, but whenever I do something, I'm the unnatural. So I win ugly. That's my life story, guy.
But see, I can understand where you would need something like that, especially if you're doing the 24 hours. You know what I'm saying, Scott? But the biggest, the thing is, I could see if you were going to stay up long. Scott may look like a truck driver, drink and do like one, but he's no trucker.
Hey,
Mr. Danzo.
I could have gone out there and done that. I did the Rolex 24, and I'll tell you, if you read some of my stories on the South Florida Tribune, I was really proud of myself for being up 30 hours to cover an event. That's something I knew I could do it. And now I have a new hobby called endurance racing. Cover those races. Didn't mean it steal your thunder, Jacob. But now you got me on a roll with this topic, man.
Oh no! But here's the thing about this is, for anybody that doesn't know Jordan, he's our first time on this show.
Right.
Let me say this part right now. If there was gonna be someone that was gonna get caffeine poisoning, if he was gonna do it, it'd be this guy. He is a voracious and insane and obsessive note taker.
That would be true. I can't deny it. See.
Yes, he is an obsessive. He is the complete opposite. Is why I brought this one on in the first place. He is right up your alley, Scott, Mr. Note Taker, Mr. Journalist. He's right up your alley. Me, I know you love me, but it's like I can say, and I appreciate it, but I am Mr. Off the top of my head.
The nice thing about Scott's show.
Let me tell you, I've done interviews off the top of my head with no preparation. Just get the first question out and let them talk. I'm telling you, sorry to interrupt you, George.
Oh, you're good.
With all due respect, man, especially in the last few months, I've had to do interviews off the top of my head, and before long, 20 to 45 minutes rolls around, and boy, we have a good show. And although I can't tell you how much caffeine I had before, that would be I didn't really write it down, but when I knew the situation, there comes a point though, and you know this on Pundit's Views too, though.
Yeah.
You know, a good interviewer is a good interviewer, and you know your subject well, so it should come natural to you. And you know, here we are in the entertainment media business, like all three of us are. You know, we all. One thing about the three of us is, Jacob, you are a good writer. I know Jordan's pretty good, and I've had 43 years of practice, so I like to think I'm somewhat pretty good at this.
Oh, you're good. Oh no, and Jordan, that was the thing though. It's you're a future. I said you're a future journalist. And that's the big thing. That's one of the reasons. Like we are gonna miss Jen here, but you are a perfect replacement. You know, I mean, you are perfect because, and I know everybody's going to agree with this because it's one of the biggest things is you really study your subjects, and that's one of the things. And I mean, I wanted somebody that's both. I was going to agree with, but I wanted to see the thing about Pundit is I asked, and I not Scott, and Jay knows the same, and Denzel knows the same. And I'm saying this, everybody knows this part. We are a unanimous vote before anything. Everybody said yes to you.
Oh, that was a no-brainer. I deal with this guy on Tuesday nights. Give me a break, man.
Well, what's funny is on Scott's show, I don't even take notes. I just go with whatever he says and right off the top of my head, and I still come up with pretty good stuff to say.
Oh, I have no doubt about it. Again, though, but the reason why you do that is your journalistic instinct takes over, Jordan.
Exactly.
And I've always been a firm believer that you have to be a good writer before you can actually go on the air.
Oh, I completely agree.
I mean, if you can't write, then how do you communicate? And all three of us here certainly are able to do that in an effective way. But hey, listen, you know what? What did I tell you when I brought you on? I said, you know what? Don't even worry about notes. People that need them, I'll give them to you. But come on, be natural. I'm not saying be Robert Redford, but Jordan Long will work. And I'm the unnatural.
It took me a few weeks to understand that. Now I do understand.
Well, but how much have you learned from that when I told you? Has that made you at least a little bit better at what you do?
A little bit. I mean, yeah, I would say, yeah. I mean, because you lay down the facts and then you just have us talk about it.
It's called Think on Your Feet 101. Okay?
Exactly.
Yeah, and if you can't think on your feet 101, well, then some people I have to distribute the information differently. But you figured it out quick. And like I said, I love having you on the broadcast. And Jacob, you're on the Sports Exchange because you and Curdy are good boxers, and you're good. I'd bring that if he wasn't on it.
Curdy is like, Curdy just completely and utterly loves $100 million players. I'm telling you right now.
Yes, he does.
He is totally for the player. You know, it's like he is totally for the millionaire. Always, totally.
Yeah, and you like reading my mind too. Oh, I'm gonna never mind.
Yeah,
I appreciate
but Jordan, welcome on. We love you to death.
Yeah, thanks, Denzel, for the heavyweight champion stuff, man. I appreciate it.
Well, while we're on this part here, let's see. Yeah, and
I agree with that.
I agree with it, and this is the big thing. What made me is the fact that I've written 10 scripts in my life. Like I've written 10 scripts, produced a couple of them. You know, I've done one script that was with an outline, and that was after 28 hours of finishing the script and trying. And then the people that wanted to see an outline. And then I got an outline. I've never liked doing outlines. I've never liked doing anything because I do the best work when it just go.
Some
people are better with preparation. I'm not.
Let me tell you this. When I used to do public speaking, I used to have an 8.5 by 11 and go ahead and read it. Now I take a index card this side, write down a few main points, practice it in front of a mirror. I get the timing down, and you never come out as a robot. And that's the one thing that you never want to do is come across as a robot. Because if you do, then people will tune you out so fast. They really will.
Oh, yeah.
So when I use an index card just to come up with the key points, I'll know I can figure the timing out. You know, I majored in communication. One of my primary emphasis was public speaking. And I'm going to tell you, I learned some lessons pretty quick. You know, you don't want to be monotone robot, read it from the loose leaf paper. You take a big index card. You have a bigger subject or small. Talk. Hello.
Yeah. No question on that. Hey, let's get on to the third one, Denzel. Wanted to see what this is.
Oh,
yeah. Yes. Now, I had a thought process, and I will say this, Denzel. I had a thought process to have a slight change in the title. I was going to say the consequences, validity and consequences of free speech. But you know something? It's also called, the whole point of it is called free speech. You know, I'm a complete, and this is why Pundit is for around here. We are free speech. We have different views, different everything, different philosophies, different all that. And we are listening to each other. And see, the whole point of the John Rocker, Marge Schott, and every one of these things is the fact that this is what I mean, is the fact that they said some really nasty, ugly things. I mean, and both lost their livelihoods basically over it. You know, Rocker got to stay another year or so, but Marge Schott was gone immediately. And this is the thing I say, though. We have consequences. But what a lot of people, especially online, don't understand is how dangerous it is if you don't have free speech. And even as disgusting as it is, egregious as someone may be, if we don't hear them, we're not going to know. Because no matter what's not coming out of the mouth, it's still in somebody's mind. That can explode in a flash. And then it's like sometimes you need to be able to know things so we can debate things, so we can converse on things. If there are people that are going to be egregious, you cannot change. We understand that. But we can't shut down everything. And that's as egregious as it may be. And was I for what John Rocker said? No. Marge Schott? No. I mean, absolutely not. I don't want to see anybody with a Nazi armband in there of collecting all that kind of stuff. No. I'm not for that. But I'm saying if you take everybody's option away to speak, even as egregious as it may be, we're not going to know what they are. And then you're going to get future wars, this is the thing. It's like one of the things that what we got with people we did not know about. With a lot of things, a lot of these mass shootings we see at the end of everything in these mass shooters, Facebook or Twitter or whatever, their little stories, their little speeches, whatever they said on there, big long tweets. We see it after the fact because they had such few people reading. Now we see it after they did this.
I was to say, I mean, yeah, we have free speech to a point, but we've seen too many times when you're talking about John Rocker, you're talking also Kurt Schilling got in trouble for a tweet he sent out. Yes, there's free speech to a point. It's free speech to a point. We even had a coach in the early 2000s here in Denver, Dan Issel. He said something stupid. Yes, you need to have free speech, but it's to a point. The problem is sometimes you cross that line, especially if you're a, athlete, because people look up to you. You do have to kind of watch what you're saying, but yes, you should have the ability to say what you want.
Well, let me tell you this. John Rocker was very adamant that he didn't like the New York subway system, didn't he? So that's number one. So, I mean, I've only been on the subways a few times, and me personally, being from the Motor City, I do prefer cars, not the subways. Okay, that's number one. Number two, Marge Schott's a different person. I think she came across as racist. But the one thing that irritated me about her, though, was when Eric Davis, I think, who formerly played for the Reds, ended up playing for the Tigers. She made him buy his own ticket back home to get. Remember that situation? Yeah, go ahead and tell him. And then when he got traded to the Tigers, said, "Oh, hallelujah, my God! At least Mike Ilitch will pick up the till and I can fly and not hit that." So I mean, that woman there crossed a lot of lines in terms of her racist behavior. John Rocker, you know what? If he would have been on social media, who knows how bad it could have been. But, we could sit there and beat up these people. Yeah, I think free speech in sports, you definitely don't want to get racist at all. I mean, see what happened with Al Campanisi after 40-some years. He was long gone in the eyes of Ernie Harwell.
And that was like 1981?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That tells you even back then that was dangerous.
Right. And then Bob McNair, Donald Sterling.
Oh, yeah. You hit it on the
card. My gosh, that's an easy ticket out of anywhere. I got news for you. The one thing I've learned, we always are learning. I don't care how old you are, 60 or whatever you guys are. Don't cross that line when it comes to doing anything stupid racism. You'll get crucified. But, hey, I'm not condoning what John Rocker did at all. And for that matter, who was it we had? Kyrie Irving. Certainly, luckily, that situation was an absolute disaster too. And it took him a while to get out of it and all. But you wonder about free speech. Even look at this John Morant. His free speech is dealing with guns. And, You had to settle that. So the point of the matter is you know what? John Rocker would have been crucified today. And you know what? He was a marked man in New York. He was. But you know what? I'll bet the guy's doing all right now. And as far as Marge Schott, she was far worse than John Rocker. I know that. And Eric Davis will be your first. He'll be the first to tell you. He just simply will. I said, you know what? You can't even pay for my ticket home or get me medical. Then so be it. But, you know, there are consequences, as JB Ellis says, where our consequences are words and our action. And JB nailed it. He really did. You know, you can say what you're going to say, but you're going to pay for it one way or the other.
Right. And well, the thing is, I met John Rocker once, and I can say this. It was a reality check of how big athletes are, because he's about 2 inches taller than me. He was about 2 inches taller than me, and his hand is about that. And I don't have big hands for a big guy. His hand is like twice this. And I mean, it's swallowed. And I'm like, this dude he's a huge individual. And guess what? That was a closer. And it's like, you got to, and just think about this, just thinking about how big these guys are for real. So I got to see that. But see, now to go back onto the subject though, it's what we have got to get though, is like we say, oh, don't say that. And you're correct, Scott. But one that I say about it is, what is in someone's mind? Because I'm not going to ever get caught saying things like that. It's because it's not in my mind. It's not in my mind. It's in a lot of people's minds. When it's in people's minds, we're telling them, oh, I see that. Yeah. But no. But I'm saying, when it's in people's minds and we say something like that, then we're telling them to walk on eggshells. I don't like what someone says, any horrible, egregious subject. Right. But when we're telling them like that, then they're walking on eggshells. Then I'll tell you exactly what we got. We got JJ Redick's version of what he called it out when it came to there are people on social media going, JJ Redick was the first to call out the race baiting, blah, blah, blah. He called out nothing. He was scared to death. He was scared half to death. He was saying, now I have all the respect in the world for you, and I have all this. And it's like, all due respect, you know. I mean, he was literally thinking that Perkins was gonna beat him up on the stage. But it's like the way he was saying that. But he said, but there was none of that. And it's like, when you do that, hold on one second. I'm gonna finish this, Scott, and you can answer that.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you do that, and when you walk on eggshells, then you get that. There is no real feeling. It's just you're scared to death to say something. And it's like, we get to that point where if people are afraid to say something, they'll say nothing, whether it's right or wrong. And then if it's really wrong, it'll really come out in the worst way. You just kind of have to know how to speak. We got to get started just having respect for each other. That's the first step. When we start learning that and start talking, we can have less of this. We're always going to have people, but it's getting worse.
Oh, 100% agree with you, Jacob.
Yes. And I would answer that, Scott. I wanted to hear what you said.
Yeah, actually, this happened recently, Denzel. Thanks for bringing it up. I'm covering the Daytona 500 Rolex 24. And on the very last day, I deal with this PR lady. You want to talk about a communications person? It's a piece of work. I don't even think she saw our website. She called our website a fans racing website without even knowing that only 4 to 5% of that our content is related to auto racing. And you want to talk about somebody that, you know, I got there on word of mouth, okay, because of a guy that I worked with before, and he knows what I'm all about. And he was kind of shocked. I said, you mean to tell me, okay, free speech to me tells me that we're a fans website? Have you even looked at this stupid thing without making a boneheaded comment? But some of these communications people are just outright awful. And I'm speaking about a woman who can't even keep a job more than 2-3 years anyways, because people wear on her. So, you know, it's just amazing stupidity, unpreparation. And I see it, you know, as far as my colleagues, I try to just be as friendly to them as I can and not really make a big deal. But when it came to this PR lady just a few weeks ago, I vowed in my mind I would never, ever go to an event that she covered. She didn't want me, but the best part about it is before she could tell me that, I didn't want her. I already made my decision by the end of the night. So, but when you go out there and make a comment about something that I took from the ground up and have built it into something credible, and you don't even know what it is, Tell me what stupidity is, because I'd like to know the word in Webster's dictionary. Or in the eyes of Gomer Pyle, golly! My goodness, I don't even know how much caffeine I had with that.
Golly!
Yeah, but no, that's a good question. I hate it when people don't even know what you do, and yet they have they're so stupid make a comment like that. But so be it.
And Jordan,
I needed out of all that in Daytona. I'd love to, and I'm going to go back and do more auto racing stuff only on the endurance side. I've done everything I can do with oval racing.
And Jordan, where do you? I was going to ask you for your side. Where do you take this as far as because we have the freedom of speech, but where do you take it? If you have a movement, if you have the power.
Honestly, I say you can say something to a point. I mean, I do cross the line when you're talking racism and anti-Semitism, but honestly, there's not a whole lot that bothers me. And like you were talking about with the mass shootings, if you go into it, people should have said something sooner because of what they've said online. But
they're all too afraid.
They are.
They're too afraid.
They are. But I mean, you can have freedom of speech to a point. And the point is if you're going to threaten someone's life or, call out a race, I don't like that, or anti-Semitism remarks. But otherwise, I'm pretty cool with free speech as long as you keep it, kosher, so to speak.
Right. Yeah. Well, we have got what my thing is we have got hate is going to be hate, and we can't diversify, or we can't divide hate into two spots where we don't talk about some and we talk about way about the other. This is what because this is what happens in media. Media does this because it is clicks. It's clicks. And it's like we do this. If it's going to talk hate, we got to go everywhere because there is just there's way too much hate everywhere. And here's the thing that I have to say right now: the folks that went across the line to Mexico and got captured, then two got killed.
That was awful.
Where are the activists now? They are silent.
Right, exactly.
Well, let me give you an update for Kyrie Irving, okay? Because I know that this is probably something he might be paying attention to now that he got rehabbed, okay? In the bottom of the sixth, the Miami Marlins lead Israel 8-5. Okay, so just kidding with you, but they are playing tonight, World Baseball Classic too, and the Marlins only have one win this spring, so I'm not gauging that. That's how well Israel's going to do.
Oh no, and the Cubs have like 10 straight wins in the preseason. That's going to be in the World Series.
I think they beat Team Canada today too.
Hey, that's why you have the Canada shirt on.
Yeah, there you go.
But that's what all I'm bringing. And I'm seeing we say up to a point, completely understood. But the biggest thing that I'm saying is we're getting to that point where there's people, you go online and there's people that's saying we want one side of the fence completely shut down and we want to talk. And then the other saying we want to, it's like, no, we're not going to get any of this solved this way. And it's like, we're not going to get any of this solved not hearing the worst.
I completely agree. The problem with social media nowadays is you can be in front of a computer and say whatever you want because the likelihood of you meeting that person is obviously slim to none. So
well, it's also a bot. A lot of them are bots.
Well, yeah, that's true too.
Well, my biggest lesson I learned on social media, I'll never forget it. We're in COVID-19 at this point, right? And I go on a Zoom call with the Marlins and Don Manning, he's a manager. I was going to ask this question today before I decided to wait. They throw now you've had 7 no-hitters earlier in the year, and I asked him a question: are there too many no-hitters this early in the year? I make a comment, and Don Mattingly's thing, one of my colleagues who was really, really smart enough to pick up on it, takes the feed off the Marlins website, and just that quote, he said, Scotty, your voice was in the background, just so you know, and I was able to pull it off. I told the guy, if you're smart enough to go ahead and take his comment and then slice it down to where it's at, more power to you. So he sent me the clip. I actually have it on our website, on the South Florida Tribune. But here's the thing. At that time, okay, they were asking communications people who actually asked that comment, and they said, oh, Scotty did. Scott. Why? Not Scott, okay. When you like me, you call me Scotty.
We'll call you Pippin.
Yeah, there you go.
But here's the deal. Okay, you know how many people, this darn thing went viral, and you know what happened at that time? It doesn't count what happened later. 392,000 people all over the world heard my voice, even though they didn't have the name to it. But my voice went everywhere, man, and I mean everywhere. So I guess my biggest fame moment will be about the no-hitters with Don Mattingly, who is, by the way, Jordan, in Canada, Toronto, Canada. Great segue, my God. And again, I haven't had enough monster drinks, but the two is working. But the reality of the situation, yeah, you never know when something's going to go viral, and then the roof blows off. That's all I'm going by that point.
I don't know. Before we go into the next thing, I want to say this: make none of it go viral, or make it all. And I'm bringing that because all I know, and you can know this, Scott, because you and I are around the same thing when it comes to the comedy.
Right.
We remember Don Rickles. People were talking about, oh my God, this wouldn't make it today. He was doing it all the way to the end when everybody was starting to complain. He did not care. And he didn't care. And this just those situations. We've just got to get to a point where we stop caring. We stop apologizing. We stop everything. Sometimes it might take where somebody says something egregious and they don't apologize. Might have to. Because then that's the first start to we starting to talk like we do here. Because all we're doing is apologizing, walking on eggshells, getting fired, losing our livelihoods, doing all that can't happen. This can't happen. This has got to stop. We have got to start I'm not telling the other side not to talk either. I'm saying, okay, come here. Let's bring it up. And that's all I'm bringing with this. And let's see. Yep. And it's like, yeah, we got to get, and I just wanted to say this. If anybody has anything to say, we got to get to one final topic.
Okay, as long as we keep, I have a really short answer for this one anyway. So now my other ones have been long, but this one's very short.
Did you see that, Jordan?
I saw the story, and honestly, this happens far too often, unfortunately. And I don't know if there's a way to stop it other than having more training for cops to see the signs of, duress on a person they arrested. I mean, I know the cops are thinking, oh, this person is faking it, but a lot of times they're not, and we hear the story way too often.
And how often, here's my only question I have is, how many times do they have to deal with her? And I'm not saying what they did was correct at all. How many times if that's a first time, this was as pitiful as it gets. That just means you're nasty, you're mean, and you don't trust anything if that was the first time. Now, if this is not a first time, you got to remember, we have to look at that end of the spectrum too. If this, hey, you have hair, I didn't know. but the thing is, if this is not the first time and they have dealt with her before, was she somebody that's been faking it and then doing all this stuff just to get off? Did they do all this stuff? And did they deal with this many times before? And I know they didn't charge the officers.
They probably should have.
Yeah, it probably should have. But the thing is, they also didn't physically harm her either. So
that's true.
But the biggest thing is, did they deal with? If they did not deal with her before, this is pitiful. This is pitiful, and this is heartless. If they dealt with her before, now we have to the only thing you do is ask the cops or see any kind of arrest warrant. Did they deal with her before? Has she been faking things before? She might have been mentally ill. Any of those things that means you're dealing. Remember, she was just walking around the area. What is the story of this situation? And that's correct, Denzel. You're right. But I wanted to say, what did you say, Scott?
I'm going to do something I've never done on this show, and it's very rare I do it on my shows. I'm going to give you a one-word answer. But so you better write down March 8th, 2023 at 8 p.m. Give you a one-word answer. Absurd.
Yeah. Hey, I'm incapable of doing that, so good job, Scott.
I tried hard, but
hey, there's more word. No,
absurd. That's what I'm going on record for. Absurd. Well, of course, now I said it 4 times. Still a one-word answer. Absurd.
Oh no, it is, and I'm not taking the cop side on that. No, what I am saying is that we've got to get a story here. And you're right, Denzel. By the way, it can be considered negligence, but there's stories behind what I say. Did they deal with her before? If they didn't, this is heartless. This is pitiful. It's negligence either way. You're correct. But did they deal with her? If they dealt with her before, and you'd have to talk to the cops, you'd have to see arrest warrants, whatever. If they did, how many times did she fake it? How many times did they? Because they were pretty angry in the midst of it. It's like they knew her before. No, you're not. No, you're not. Get up. We know you're faking. We know. It's like so. And if they didn't, they were absolutely negligent, and they did all that. And they were mean and nasty. Anyway, but. I mean, was this the first time? That's the only thing I have to ask. And I would love to be able to ask anybody involved with this. How many times have we seen this? And those were the things right there. And really, and by the way, Jordan, how many times, I mean, you're saying we need more. We had a trend. I don't know if you watched this episode, but I mean, you may have not, Jordan. We had, and Scott was on it. We had a episode called Might Not Be Her That Faked It, maybe as who did. Yes. Right. It's like, but we had an episode with one called Martial Arts and Police Reform. We had one with this, and Scott was one of his first episodes.
Right.
And it was like, we had a thing, we were talking about that they need more. The first thing we talked about is they need more martial arts training because you see so many perps just when they're getting them on the ground, they can't keep them on the ground, or they can't take them on, because that's why how the gun keeps coming out, because they can't take them hand to hand. So we talk about that. They can't negotiate. We talk about that. So they need to be able to have more training. We are not saying don't have gun training. Not at all. I mean, just have the same amount as you always had. But I've talked to police who've told me, how much gun training do you get? We have to have it all the time. How much hand-to-hand training? Just as much as we want. They have more than one cop has told me that. That needs to be mandatory also. Because I have seen the cops that are good. I've seen it on video. They will put somebody over in a judo throw and put the guy in 4 seconds. Put the guy down 4 seconds. And it's like, and they'll be all that stuff. If you're that good, you don't need to go get the gun out. Now, you need to get the gun out if it has to be. But we're so jumpy with this because it's such a violent world. But a lot of these cops do not know how to do hand-to-hand. And it's like, that's even including muscle cops with muscles and they're in the gym and everything. A lot of them, it's obvious because there's the video of a perp that literally got 2 cops that had him pinned down. He literally muscled them up, and now while he's doing that, gets his 3-wheeler up while they're trying to hold him down. Then he takes off. That's how little they know about the hand-to-hand. And it's like, so either they don't know hand-to-hand or they're too afraid to go farther. So that's what I was saying with that, Jordan, what you were bringing up. It's they don't have the training. And guess what? The negotiation training, the training in medical. And you were bringing the medical up, correct?
Yes.
And it's, what would you want to see? Since you weren't on that episode, obviously. What would you want to see as far as reform is? Because it was called police reform. We want to see, what would you want to see?
I just want these cops to understand. I mean, I've taken CPR, I've taken first aid. I don't know how much training they have, but it tells you the signs of what's going on. It'd be nice to see the data on that to see what medical training they actually have, because I really don't know that answer. Right.
And possibility. And it's like, and by the way, this was the last of this because we have to get on the sports exchange. Jordan, thank you very much. You're going to be on, because, I mean, you're also got a lot of different assignments and different things. So you'll be here and there. You know what I mean? You'll be here and there on this show. You are full-time now, but we know we'll be replacing from time to time. But we appreciate you, and it's awesome that you're on. And I hope you enjoy being on here tonight.
Yeah, Jordan, I love working with you anytime that situation presents on Tuesday and now here. It's great, man. Good stuff.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you, Jacob. I definitely enjoy this show as well as the other shows that I'm on with the South Florida Tribune, and of course, Sideline Sports. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to working with you guys more.
Oh, I'm looking forward. And it's like, and I will be on with Scott. I will be on with Scott on the Sports Exchange in a few minutes. So for Jacob Christner and the new Jordan Long and Scott, and then Scott Morganrath of Motor City Madmouth with extra Mountain Dew. This is the Pundit's Pundit. We'll see you in 7.